I very much enjoy this show. It's so much fun to watch all of the craziness that goes on this show. And I'm curious, I mean, could you ever have imagined that you would say huzzah so many times on one job? I mean, does somebody keep like a running counter per season?
No, but we should do that.
We should.
That's a good idea.
They counted up the amount of glasses we broke in the first season, didn't they? And
yeah, what was it?
It was into the hundreds easily.
Yeah, a lot.
Yeah. But the huzzah, I mean, it becomes like a twitch after a while. We've said it so many times, you can like wake yourself up in the middle of the night, huzzah. Yeah.
But I love it because it can mean so many different things. You know, it has, you can use it in so many different contexts, you know, and that's it's brilliant. At first, I remember, you know, when we first started shooting, you know, it took a while to get used to just to saying huzzah and to feel like it was something you would say. And now it just, you know, there's a seamlessness to it now. It's quite fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you find that you have to actually stop saying it in real life because people will just look at you like you're crazy?
It's very expressive. It's a great word to say. It kind of like says a lot, like you say, it can mean lots of different things. So yeah, I do find myself saying it quite a lot.
These characters are all so big and bold and over the top. Do you miss playing them in between seasons, or is it a character that you're happy to pack away and take a bit of a break from?
I really look forward to the opportunity to do it again because it is so much fun to play in these parts. But then at the same time, you know, it's good to have a break and do something different, isn't it? And kind of challenge yourself in different ways. So yeah, and also, you know, they're not the nicest people, really. I mean, Grigor and Arcady they've got their faults, haven't they?
Yeah.
Kind of not massively sympathetic characters. So it's good to walk away from that sometimes.
How about for you, Belle?
It's similar to what Gwilym just said. I think you look forward to playing these characters because they're so much fun to play, and it's just, you know, the writing is just incredible. So it's you know, it's a treat to be able to work with that text. But it's also nice to, you know, have a break and have that opportunity to look forward to going back to it. You know, so you know, balance.
It seems like all of the characters on a show like this, aside from maybe Catherine and Peter, might be a little bit like you might not have known too much about them when you started. It seems like there's so much room for them to grow. So what did you actually know about who your character would be? And has anything really surprised you about them since then?
Yeah, so I think when we started, didn't really know too much because they're not based on real people. So they're, you know, entirely fictional. But I had a chat with Tony about, you know, the character and potential arcs and where it's going, but we don't get all the episodes when we start filming. We get them as you go along, so it's a constant discovery. That's also quite nice, you know. It's nice to be surprised and to be and to figure stuff out along the way, like relationships or bits of history between characters that you didn't, you know existed, and you haven't then preset or tried to play that in some way. It just is, and that's quite nice about the way we make this show.
I think that's the really rich thing about this season, isn't it? Is that like the first season is it's a lot about setup, and it's a lot about like kind of establishing who these characters are and what this world is. But now that we know that at the end of season one, we can jump straight back into the deep end with season two, and like it allows you the opportunity in this season to really explore like some different depths to these characters and explore like a bit more of the kind of human side of them all, I think.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I mean, well, Grigor is in a very interesting position with his wife and his best friend, and he doesn't seem to really, you know, that's not really the situation you want to be in a marriage. So why do you think he puts up with what he does for as long as he has? What's it like to play someone like him and explore that?
Yeah, I mean, it's why does he put up with it? I mean, because he has to, really. You know, to stand up against someone like Peter is dangerous. He's a petulant, kind of dangerous, violent man. So you don't stand up to him. But equally, I think he doesn't stand up to him because he ultimately loves him. He loves Peter. He's completely loyal to him. And it's not about like political positioning for Grigor. I don't think it is just a matter of like, you know, connection and love. So that's really put to the test in season two. who's he going to choose? Who's Grigor going to choose? His wife or Peter? And it's very interesting who he does choose in the end. But also it's like, that's what I find very interesting about this show and this world is that like there's no space for privacy in this court. It's a really kind of intense pressure cooker situation. Everyone's living on top of each other in this very small environment, and like it's very difficult to have feelings and to kind of like to deal with your feelings in this world. Yeah.
What do you think those two relationships say about him as a character? I mean, how does that define him for you as far as how he is with both of those people in his life?
Sorry, about how Grigor is with
between his wife and Peter.
Yeah. What does it say about Grigor?
I mean, how does that inform him for you? I mean, do you think about that as far as the choices you make?
Yeah, I think ultimately, it proves that he's a very loyal person. He is loyal. He tries to be loyal to both his wife and his best friend, and that's what puts him in this predicament. So he's kind of like pretty. I know he's got a lot of faults, Grigor, but he's actually quite decent in that sense. I think that's one of his qualities, one of his virtues.
Bayo, what do you enjoy about Arkady and the relationship that he has with people? I mean, he sort of seems to be able to kind of move around among everybody.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like he's definitely firmly in, Peter's camp. But also, I suppose he's also quite cognizant and aware of, like, I suppose his position within that camp. And although he's a close friend of Peter's, he's aware that like he doesn't necessarily have the history and lifelong friendship that he has with Grigor. So he's quite aware of that. And I suppose it's a similar thing with the relationship he has with his wife Tatiana, played by Florence Keith-Roach. I think they're both quite aware of that, and they're a family, So there's an element of the choices they make being aligned with the element of like self-preservation for themselves and their family. And yeah, so it's quite interesting and fun this season was quite fun to do, because you get to see a bit more of his like I suppose Machiavellian side and scheming side, which was lots of fun to do.
I thought it was funny that he's sort of the one that is gone to for relationship advice too, because everybody's relationship is pretty much a mess on the show.
Yeah, and he's the family man, so he's just about figuring out himself, to be honest.
Well, this show is visually stunning. The costumes are incredible. The sets seem so detailed. What do you think would most surprise viewers when it comes to every detail and what it takes to pull off a show like this?
I'm such a fan of the creative team of the show. I'm constantly talking about like the costume, the set design, because I come to set and I'm like, wow, this is just incredible. It's amazing. And I think that like with every department, just like we can say with the acting department, with actors, you come into a second season kind of knowing the world and getting the gist of it, and you can just be a bit more expressive and creative coming into it for a second season. I think that is true across the board, and I think that like everyone this season in the second season really just steps it up a notch. So I think there's a lot of exciting and surprising things for audiences to take in that regard.
It's that incredible attention to detail as well, isn't it? It's like, and I think it's the specificity that really gives this show a richness and allows you to really connect with it. It's like there's never just a generic party. There's always something specific and particular about it. So like there's in one of the episodes there's a baby shower, and you read that in the script, you're like they're at a baby shower, you kind of don't think too much about it or imagine what that is, and then you turn up to set on the day that we're shooting it, and they have created this world, this mad, crazy, eccentric world where we're all kind of dressed up in these weird kind of like childlike costumes and colors, and we've got elaborate wigs on and stuff, and it's like that's what makes it so kind of eccentric and kind of brilliant, and I think it's what audiences hopefully really connect with as well.
Yeah, it feels like there are so many little details on the sets that you guys can see that we probably can't even see as the viewers, but it changes how you act or how you move, and it's so detailed and incredible to watch in that way.
Definitely, because it's all there for you to interact with and play with and just be a part of, and so that detail definitely informs the way you play, because you tap into that world very readily, very quickly, because it's all there for you to just interact with. And so, and the costumes and the makeup, everything just sort of informs the way you move through the space, which is lots of fun.
I think we're also really encouraged to like not wear these clothes as like costumes, but imagine them as our actual clothing. So we're always in a various state of undress. We're we're kind of like, we're very rarely like in some period dramas you see everyone's very kind of like put together and the wigs are perfect and like stuff, quite often we're not wearing our wigs. They're kind of like thrown on a table. So and our shirts are undone, and we've got our jackets off and all that kind of stuff, and it kind of like creates that world of like anarchy and kind of chaos a little bit, I suppose.
Yeah. And and there's a lot of collaboration as well, because it's like an ongoing dialogue between you and say costume or makeup about what your character would be wearing in the scene and how they would be wearing it. Would they be a bit more relaxed? Would they be a bit more prim and proper in those scenes? There are scenes where you're a bit more relaxed and I'm probably a bit more prim and proper, and that's I think speaks to say Arcady wanting to say climb up the ladder of power, or wanting to like be impressive quite a lot. And that's a conversation that's constantly happening between us and costume or us and makeup, and it's nice because, like you say, you don't feel like you're wearing a costume. You just feel like you're wearing your own clothes, Yeah, so that's it's great.
Well, it's so much fun to watch and get to live in very briefly. So thank you for talking to me about it.
Cool. Thanks very much.